Welcome to online lecture series for software engineering KCS 601. Myself Dr. Inderjit Kaur, Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In the previous lecture, we have discussed about the different levels of testing that a user can perform and the customer can also be involved. So, in this lecture, we will be discussing about the static testing, the various strategies of performing the static testing, just like formal testing reviews, conducting peer reviews and walkthrough and so on. So, let us start how we can define this static testing. Static testing, it is a testing approach in which we are examining the program's code and the associated documentation that we have done without executing the code. The code is not being executed, but we are going to examine the behavior, the program code that is being written by the developer and all the documents that are associated with this software. This static testing, it is also called as the dry run for the testing. Before we hand over anything to the customer, we once see that is known as the dry run, whether it should be correct, should be and it is, that is, there is a difference, but once we see the actual things are present or no. So, first dry run, that is the static testing. So, this type of testing, it requires the programmers to manually read their own code to find out the errors. That is why the name is given static. They are just reading their code and they are just analyzing it, whether there can be any chances of errors or no. Whatever modules that were being thought in the design document, are they properly made, executed and tested further or no. It is a kind of a stage of our white box testing. This static testing, it is basically consisting of two parts. One is our review and second is our static analysis. The major objectives for performing the static testing are: we want to increase, improve the quality of the software products by finding the errors in these in the early stages of development cycle. So, in the early stages of development cycle, when it is in the developer hand, our main intention is to focus as many errors and fix those bugs, so that the cost can also be reduced. Once it goes to the next level, it increases the cost. Testing team is going to take their cost to increase their cost of the software if they are finding too many bugs. So, static testing, the major objective for doing this static testing, it is just to increase the quality of the software in the earlier stages. We want to have a product that is error free. That is the reason why there are different levels of testing in which it occurs. In one go, anybody, any tester cannot find the bugs. It occurs in the different levels. So, one team, if it fails to find the find the errors, it is being caught by the second team and so on. Then the second objective of doing this static testing, it is used to test any form of document, including its source code, including its design document and the several other modules with their functional specifications and requirement specifications. Means we are just checking, we are just testing the document for the software comprising of SRS sheet and design documents and other associated documentation along with the source code. Are they properly tuned or no? So, is there any scope for the improvement? Then it is being done. Then, as I said, static testing, it comprises of two types. First is the review and the second one is static analysis. Review that is used to find and eliminate the errors or the ambiguities or the bugs that are coming in the documents. We are here reviewing the SRS sheet, the design document and the test cases that are being generated by the testing team. So, everything is being reviewed by the team. The main aim is to find the bugs or the errors or the ambiguity. We have defined the type of input as array, but it is not being taken as array. We have defined the input as character, but we have used some other thing, and test cases it does not cover the negative values, or test cases it does not incorporate the boundary values. So, all these things they are thought simultaneously, they are seen simultaneously and the review occurs. Then the second is static analysis. This static analysis means the code that is written by the developer is analyzed by different testing tools to find the structural defects. So, this static testing it is being divided into reviews and static analysis. This review is to analyze the entire software with its source code, documentation, SRS, design document and test cases simultaneously by conducting either informal review or through walkthrough or peer review, inspections and all, means the types of reviews we are going through. The purpose is to eliminate the errors as many as can. Then the second approach is to analyze the code that is being written by the developer. The thing that we can change, there is a scope of the change is in the code itself, where we can modify or where the chances ki we can increase or improve the productivity, we can increase the reliability. So, we should majorly focus on the code. So, this code is being analyzed. Either this analysis should happen manually or it should be automatically. When we are doing the manually analysis of the code, there are again chances ki some errors can be left. Then the second target comes ki automate these tools, automate this process, automate this analysis process of the code by some tools. So, various test automation tools are also available for performing this static testing, that we will also discuss in this lecture later in the later stages. So, static analysis it can be done either making through data flow or making a control flow diagram or measuring the cyclomatic complexity, that means measuring how many independent path the program is following. To know the complexity of the program. So, using these three different ways we can static analysis, we can perform the static analysis of our program. Then the most important thing, when we are doing this static testing, we should be knowing about the participants of this process. The various participators are moderator first. It is also known as the review leader. Then the main task of this moderator is to do the entry check and schedule the meeting. Then he leads the possible discussions and stores all the collected data. Then the second participant is the author. Author means he illuminates the unclear areas and he understands the defects found. The basic goal of an author, it should be in terms of quality improvement, the focus of an author should be like that. Then the third participant is the scribe. Scribe is a person who is doing logging of the defects if they are being found during the review. He is just noticing all the kind of defects that are coming in the review process. Then the fourth participant is the reviewer. This reviewer, it is also known as the checker or the inspector. The task of reviewer is to check any material for defect that is prior to meeting. If it is there, then he notes it. Then these are the kind of participants. Then there are different static testing techniques. We can perform this static testing via review using informal reviews, using formal reviews, using technical reviews, using walkthrough, do the introspection process or static code review. So, let us discuss one by one. The first approach is the informal review. The informal review means in this process the creator of the documents, he puts the content in the front of audience and everyone participates, everyone gives their opinion, and so the defects they are being identified in the early stage. So, the major expectation is from everyone is to participate and give their opinions, so that this review process output gets delivered. Then this informal review, it does not follow any process to find the errors in the document. Informal comments they are being added after this reviewing process. We can also say that this process occurs in team, that is a 2-person team, he can conduct an informal review and at the later stages more people can also join. This informal review is not documented. Then let us move on to the second, that is our formal review. As the name suggests, it follows a formal process. It is a well structured and a regulated process done in a controlled environment. This process, it comprises of 6 main steps. It starts with planning, then kickoff occurs, then preparation goes, and then review meetings are conducted, rework is done if it is required from the earlier stages, then a follow up meeting takes place. Then the third process, that is doing the technical review, means in this technical review a team consisting of peers, they review the technical specification of the software product and they check it with its suitability with the project. If it does not tunes, then they give the recommendation like that ki it fails to have the technical specification, means the technical specifications of the project, it does not meet the requirements, they should be changed. So, then it tries to find the discrepancies in the specifications and the followed standards. So, either the process will be changed or there will be some change in the specification. As per specification, the process, the standards, they need to be changed if there is any discrepancy. Then the major aim is it concentrates on the test strategy, test plan and the SRS, whether there is a match or no. For the SRS, approved SRS, we should be testing our software as per the SRS. If it requires any change, then we should make changes in our test plan, we should change our strategy and accordingly the product is updated. Then the next thing is walkthrough. Walkthrough, it is performed by the experienced persons or experts. In the earlier we were doing it with the beginners also, now the experienced person's talk is required, so that the defects for further problem in the development or in the testing phase they come to know. Then now we are identifying them using experienced persons. The author of the work product, it explains the product to his team. Meeting is led by the author and participants can ask as many as questions, and the task of scribe is to make note of the review comments. So, in this manner the walkthrough process goes on and the bugs they are being identified. Then the next process, fifth, is our inspection. Inspection means we are verifying the document with the higher authority, that is the higher authority process is doing the introspection. The main aim is to find the defect and the meeting is led by the trained moderator. It is a kind of formal type of review that is following the strict process to find the defects, as many it can. Then we have the reviewers, they have the checklist to review the work products, and then these defects they are being recorded and the participants they are informed to rectify those errors. So, now we can see inspection is a very important process for doing this static testing. Then the last is static code review. Here the review of the code takes place with a systematic review of the software source code without executing the code. It is a systematic process that says ki review the code that is being written without its execution. What things are being checked? It checks the syntax of the code, it checks the coding standards, it checks how we can optimize the code further. Suppose I have selected any sorting algorithm. So, in my software, so how that sorting algorithm can be changed if there is a chances of optimizing that sorting technique. So, this is also termed as white box testing and it can be done at any point during the development phase. So, when we are during the development phase, we can do this static code review at any time. So, these were the 6 kinds of doing the static testing done at the review. So, next is we should discuss about the benefits of these 6 reviews that we have just discussed. So, the first benefit is we are having there is a development productivity improvement. The developer can improve its productivity by doing these kind of reviews. It is not necessary that all the 6 reviews should be done. Any 1 or 2 or 3 reviews they can give the benefit of static testing. Then the second benefit is to reduce the development time scales. So, when we are writing the software, we must write the test timing plans. This timing plans means we are with the how much time is being given, how many months should be given for the requirement phase, how many months should be given for the design team, how many months should be given to the coding team, how many months should be given to the testing team, and so on. So, that development time scale is reduced when we are doing the review process. Then third, reduce testing time and cost. That is the major advantage of doing this review process, ki it decreases the testing time and cost. So, that is the entire software cost gets decreased. Then the lifetime cost reductions also takes place. Then the fault levels are also being reduced. Then we have now the improved customer relations, because we are directly involving the customers when we are doing reviews also. So, before the product is not handed over and we are involving the customers to take the review, to take the feedback, to give their feedback. So, in that way we can improve the customer relations also. Next is to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of our software static testing. The major advantage of doing this static testing is we are having the early feedback on the quality issues. Then the kind of rework cost it becomes low. rework means we are just revising and then rewriting. Then the development productivity is also being increasing because of the less rework effort. When we have to design a new thing, it takes less time in comparison to when we have to rewrite anything. This is a fundamental law in the real life scenario. Then the same thing also applies to the testing also. When we have to write a new software, it is just easy to identify the requirement, to make the design document and to code it and then test it. But to rewrite it, find the debug, rewrite it, it becomes very tedious. So, it takes lot of time, it consumes lot of productivity actually also. So, that productivity gets increased when we are doing this static testing. Then come on to the disadvantage. As I am saying ki we are spending a lot of time in review. So, that is the time consuming as conducted it is manually. So, if static testing is done automatically, then time consumption can also be reduced. Then it does not find vulnerabilities that are introduced in the runtime environment. We are doing it without execution of the code, we are just analyzing them. So, once we are executing the code, we will come to know about the real time environment scenarios. So, that is static testing is not aware of those vulnerabilities that will occur. Then is the kind of various static code analysis tools to automate the static testing. They are one of them is RxS, that is a automated tool to discover the false finding that wastes the time and effort when we are doing this static testing manually. So, then second is Sonar Cube, it improves the code quality and code security. So, code security is also being added in this automation tool. Then is Selenium, that is again automate web applications. Then is Reshift, it is a SaaS based software platform that helps the software development team to identify more vulnerabilities. Then next tool is Imboldt, it supports the developers and teams to work on higher quality in less time. Then is the SmartWare Collaborator, very important code review tool to suitable for remotely as well as co-located teams. Using this tool, we can also be integrated with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, Jira, Eclipse, Visual Studio and etc. So, these were the different kinds of automating tools in our static testing. One of them, as I said, is the Selenium. So, let us discuss what steps the Selenium is taking for testing the script on a web application. First step is to create a WebDriver instance, then it navigates to a web page, then locate an HTML element on the web page, then it performs an action on the HTML element, then anticipate the browser response and then conclude the test. So, this explains the basic steps in creating a Selenium script for testing a web application. In this manner, the various other tools, they have also their steps and for performing the automations of the static testing. So, this was all about the static testing strategies. Thank you.